In one of the most curious moments in the recent history of the Golden State Warriors, a detail revealed years later almost completely changed the future of the franchise and of the NBA itself. During a conversation on the House of Strauss podcast, Andrew Bogut, former center for the team, shared a surprising piece of information. In 2012, the Warriors considered trading Stephen Curry instead of Monta Ellis. According to Bogut, the decision about who would be traded revolved around the player's physical condition. It was either Monta or Steph, and the team decided to stick with Monta based on health, he said. At that time, Curry was dealing with serious ankle problems and had played in only 26 games during the 2011-12 season, while Ellis remained the team's leading scorer. What seemed like a logical choice at the time could have changed everything. Curry had not yet become the star he would one day be. His average of 14.7 points and 5.3 assists per game, although respectable, was overshadowed by Ellis's impressive 21.9 points per game. Curry's physical fragility seemed like too big a risk for many within the organization. However, the final decision turned out differently. Monta Ellis was sent to the Milwaukee Bucks in exchange for Andrew Bogut and Stephen Jackson. The trade not only marked the beginning of a new era for the Warriors, but also cleared the way for Curry to develop, taking on a central role within the team. The impact of the change was immediate and profound. With Bogut bringing a solid defensive presence and Curry receiving more freedom to lead the offense, the Warriors jumped from a 23-43 record to a 47-35 record the following season. It was the first step toward building a dynasty. Bogut, with his physical style and defensive intelligence, brought the stability the team needed in the paint, while Curry began to show glimpses of the unique talent that would eventually make him one of the greatest players in history. In 2015, both would be key pieces in the title run that ended the franchise's 40-year championship drought. Although today it's almost impossible to imagine the Warriors without their iconic point guard, it's intriguing to think about how close the world came to seeing Curry wearing a Bucks jersey. Perhaps his story would have been completely different. Perhaps the Warriors would never have become a powerhouse. It's these moments, these small decisions, that forever shape the course of sports. And even though the executives at the time may now deny how close that trade actually came to happening, Bogut assures that the situation was much closer than many might think. A true sliding doors moment in the basketball world. But what few knew is that years later, the Warriors would continue to dream big, constantly seeking to add more superstars to their roster, even though the team was already a reference for success. Fast forward to the present day, and we find another story that could have redefined the Warriors' future, the pursuit of Giannis Antetokounmpo. During this year's playoff run, while the Warriors were facing the Houston Rockets in the first round, news emerged that the franchise had attempted something bold at the trade deadline. After securing Jimmy Butler, the team still kept its eyes on an old dream, bringing the Greek Freak to the Bay. According to Brett Siegel of Clutch Points, Warriors executives even made a call to the Bucks to discuss a possible trade for Giannis. However, the attempt went no further. With Butler recently acquired and tied to a long-term contract, the logistics of fitting Antetokounmpo into the roster became unfeasible. More than that, other teams would likely be able to offer much more attractive packages to the Bucks in case of negotiations. The Warriors' ambition to constantly seek big names has never been a secret. From forming super teams to chasing reinforcements at critical moments, the philosophy has always been clear: always improve at any cost. Giannis, for his part, has not hidden in recent interviews that he might consider a change of scenery if the Bucks ceased to be competitive. "I don't want to stay in my comfort zone," said the star, emphasizing his desire to be constantly challenged and to compete at the highest level. With the Bucks struggling in their series against the Indiana Pacers, speculation about a possible Antetokounmpo departure only intensified. However, with Butler committed long-term to Golden State, this dream combination of the Greek star and the Warriors roster seems unlikely in the short term. Still, the mere fact that the Warriors made a move to try to unite these two forces shows the franchise's aggressive mentality. Even after years of success, the spirit of innovation and ambition remains alive within the organization. What's fascinating about this entire story is realizing how destiny in sports is shaped by such small moments: a choice, a trade, a phone call made or not made. In 2012, a decision between Curry and Ellis shaped a golden era. In 2025, perhaps another decision, another opportunity, could again alter the future. Meanwhile, the Warriors continue battling in the playoffs, trying to write another chapter in a story that is already legendary, but that, as we've learned, could have been very, very different. The trajectory of the Golden State Warriors is a masterclass in how risky decisions, even the smallest ones, can trigger massive transformations. What started as a trade that could have sent Stephen Curry elsewhere ultimately opened the door for him to become not just the soul of the team, but also one of the most recognizable faces of the modern NBA. The absence of Monta Ellis allowed the point guard to emerge as the central piece of the Warriors' offense. Without the previous sharing of the spotlight, Curry flourished. And more importantly, the organization, which could have panicked over his injuries, chose instead to give him time and structure for his development. Patience was rewarded with the rise of a superstar who would revolutionize the way basketball is played. Bogut, in turn, brought something the Warriors had long needed. He wasn't a player who piled up points, but his ability to protect the rim, organize the defense, and lead quietly was essential to the identity of the team that would go on to dominate the league in the years to come. His arrival solidified the defense, allowing the fluid, long-range, shooting-based offense to thrive. When the 2014-15 season culminated in a title, it became clear that the risky trade had been more than just a simple roster move. It was the cornerstone of a dynasty. It wasn't just about individual talent, but about building a culture where every player understood their role, and where the sum of the parts was far greater than any individual effort. And yet, even after reaching the top, the Warriors never settled. They kept searching for ways to improve, to reinvent themselves, to stay one step ahead of the competition. The recent attempt to acquire Giannis Antetokounmpo is the latest evidence of that. Even with a solid foundation and established stars, the front office did not hesitate to try bringing the current MVP and NBA champion to San Francisco. It was a bold move, perhaps even a dreamer's move, but it perfectly illustrates the team's mindset. Never be satisfied. Never stop aiming higher. The interest in Giannis is not new. Ever since he began to emerge as an unstoppable force in the league, his combination of size, skill, and work ethic caught everyone's attention. For the Warriors, who have always valued players with versatility and the ability to impact the game in multiple areas, he seemed like the perfect fit to maintain the team's dominance for years to come. However, circumstances changed quickly. The arrival of Jimmy Butler brought not only a major reinforcement but also financial and strategic commitments that made adding another superstar virtually impossible. By choosing Butler, the Warriors made it clear where their current priority lies: to compete with everything they have now. Still, the prospect of pairing Curry and Giannis fueled the dreams of many fans for some time. After all, imagining the most lethal point guard in history distributing passes to one of the most unstoppable players in the league was an enticing vision. It would be a combination of explosiveness, strength, and skill on a scale that few teams in history could match. On Giannis's side, his future remains shrouded in uncertainty. Although he has repeatedly reaffirmed his commitment to the Bucks in various interviews, he has also left the door open for a possible move should he feel the team is no longer in a position to contend for titles. His desire is clear. He wants to be constantly challenged, to feel part of something greater, where the pursuit of excellence is constant. That philosophy resonates deeply with the culture built within the Warriors. From the days of uncertainty surrounding Curry to the latest efforts to reshape the roster for new championship runs, the thirst for success has never waned. The team is not content with being good. It strives to be legendary. And maybe that's what makes this entire story even more fascinating. What could have been if Curry had been traded in 2012? What could happen if Giannis were to join the Warriors now? In both cases, the common denominator is the Warriors' willingness to take risks and to dream big. While the present is lived intensely in the playoffs, With every possession and every game carrying historic weight, the future is always a silent concern in the minds of the executives. Who will be the next big name to wear the blue and gold jersey? What will be the next bold move that changes the course of the franchise? Those questions remain unanswered, but if recent history teaches us anything, it's that we should never underestimate the Warriors' ability to surprise. Whether by betting on a skinny point guard with fragile ankles or by attempting to join forces with one of the greatest athletic phenomena of the modern era, the franchise is always willing to do whatever it takes to stay among the NBA giants. And if the past is any indication, the Warriors will not only keep trying, they will often succeed. Looking back at this entire journey, it becomes clear that the Golden State Warriors have become a symbolic franchise, not just because of their success on the court, but because of the way they view the process of building a championship team. The decisions that shaped this golden era were never obvious or free of risk. On the contrary, they often went against the conventional thinking of the league. If in 2012 the trade of Monta Ellis seemed like a leap into the unknown, risking the departure of a healthy player in favor of a young talent who was physically fragile, years later, the move made perfect sense. Stephen Curry, once seen as a promising player threatened by injuries, evolved into a superstar who changed the way basketball is played, influencing generations of athletes and coaches. The ability to see beyond the immediate present is what allowed the Warriors to take risks when others would have backed off. And this vision remained alive throughout the following decade, driving decisions that continued to shape the team's profile. Drafting talents that fit the system, betting on versatile players, and, when necessary, making big moves in the market. The interest in Giannis Antetokounmpo, even after the arrival of Jimmy Butler, is a natural extension of this philosophy. Although current reality has closed that door, the attempt reinforces the way the Warriors always look to the future with ambition. For the front office, every opportunity to improve the roster is studied carefully, without fear of appearing bold or premature. The scenario that led to such an aggressive approach was not created overnight. It is the direct result of years of successes and lessons learned. From managing crises like Curry's early career injuries, through the acquisition of key pieces like Andre Iguodala and the explosion of the Splash Brothers, to bolder moves like bringing in Kevin Durant in 2016, the Warriors built their identity based on a mixture of patience and audacity. This combination of strategic patience with bold decisions is what differentiates the Warriors from so many other franchises. Instead of simply reacting to events, the team has always sought to anticipate them, preparing the ground for future victories even while celebrating present achievements. In the case of the attempt to acquire Giannis, there was also a market analysis involved. With the Milwaukee Bucks struggling in the playoffs and the Greek star leaving open the possibility of seeking a new environment, the Warriors saw a chance, even if remote, to plant a seed. A simple phone call might not result in an immediate trade, but it opens a channel for future dialogue. Moreover, the franchise understands that in such a competitive league as the NBA, being prepared for all possibilities is essential. A dissatisfied star today could become available tomorrow, and whoever has already shown genuine interest will have a head start in the race. Meanwhile, on the court, the Warriors continue to face their current challenges, trying to build a new playoff run. Jimmy Butler has brought the expected energy and competitiveness, fitting well alongside Curry and helping to boost the team against the Houston Rockets. But even with a talented roster, the journey toward another title is always full of obstacles. The NBA landscape has also changed considerably. Super teams have become common, and competition has never been fiercer. Teams like the Denver Nuggets, Boston Celtics, and even the young and promising Oklahoma City Thunder have emerged as real threats to the dominance the Warriors enjoyed for so many years. This new reality demands even more creativity and courage from the Warriors' front office. It's not enough to simply trust what worked in the past. It is necessary to adapt, anticipate trends, and constantly reinvent themselves. The attempt to add Giannis was another reflection of this mindset, a bet that, even though it didn't materialize, demonstrates that the Warriors' competitive spirit remains intact. Giannis, in turn, represents everything a modern franchise could wish for in a star: physical strength, technical skill, defensive ability, leadership, and an obsessive mindset to win. His desire to be constantly challenged fits perfectly with the philosophy the Warriors have built over the years. Even though such a union seems unlikely today, the future in the NBA is always unpredictable, and doors can open again when least expected. Meanwhile, Curry continues to lead the team, now with an even richer story of overcoming adversity and achieving success. What began with fragile ankles and doubts about his durability has turned into a career that redefined limits. Today, he is one of the few players who can say they left an indelible mark on the history of the sport, not just because of the titles won, but because of the way he influenced an entire era. And all of this happened because back then, a difficult decision was made, a choice based on vision and courage, not just on the cold data of the moment. The same spirit that saved Curry and propelled the Warriors to glory is what still guides the franchise today in its relentless pursuit of excellence. At 22 years old, a young Filipino center has been turning heads wherever he goes. With an imposing stature, refined skills for his position, and impressive body control, Sotto is not just another player trying to make it to the NBA. He represents a rare combination of talent, size, and ambition. Standing 16 meters tall, he already carries on his shoulders not only the expectations of his nation, but also the promise of something greater, to become the next big name in Asian basketball on the international stage. Sotto is much more than numbers and statistics. He brings a playing style that blends the traditional characteristics of a center with a modern touch of versatility. He not only protects the rim with authority, but also knows how to create offensive opportunities with creativity and court awareness. His offensive repertoire includes consistent mid-range shots, well-executed hook shots, and above-average court vision for someone in his position. He also shows strong defensive instincts, especially when it comes to contesting shots and covering sensitive areas in the paint. But when we talk about joining the NBA, and more specifically becoming part of one of the most strategic franchises in the league today, the Golden State Warriors, the game changes completely. The competition is fierce, the pace relentless. The physical and tactical demands are pushed to extremes that few leagues around the world can replicate. And it is in this context that the potential arrival of Sotto to the Warriors roster becomes a fascinating prospect. The transition to the NBA is often challenging, even for the most experienced and highly rated athletes. Talent alone is not enough. One must know how to use it under pressure against faster, stronger, and more prepared opponents. For this would mean entering a new phase of his evolution as a player, where every practice, every minute on the court, and every decision during a game would matter. His history in international basketball, having played in leagues such as Japan's and Australia's, has already shown glimpses of his potential. However, the NBA is a world apart, and the true test is yet to come. Within the Warriors system, would have the opportunity to develop alongside some of the sport's most renowned names. With a coaching staff known for their ability to refine talent and an offensive system that emphasizes smart movement, game reading, and versatility, he would have the ideal environment to explore the upper limits of his development. Training daily with top-level veterans, participating in complex tactical schemes, and being tested in high-pressure situations would be decisive factors in his journey. But what truly makes this possibility intriguing goes beyond basketball. The cultural connection between Sotto and the Bay Area is deep and symbolic. The San Francisco region and its surroundings are home to one of the largest Filipino communities outside the Philippines. His arrival in this setting would mean much more than a simple signing. It would represent a point of unity between a globally renowned team and a passionate fan base eager to see one of their own shine on basketball's most prestigious stage. The impact of this union would be immediate. The Chase Center, home of the Warriors, would become a stage for not only sports celebrations, but cultural ones as well. Fans waving Philippine flags in the stands, cheers in Tagalog echoing during games, and a contagious energy coming from an entire community that would finally see itself represented at a high level in the NBA. It would be a unique experience for the franchise and for the league as a whole. Beyond the on-court effects, Kai's arrival to the Warriors would open significant doors in the commercial landscape. The NBA has been increasingly investing in the globalization of its product, and athletes who can connect different cultures become valuable assets for any organization. Partnerships with Asian brands, increased viewership in Southeast Asian countries, and new possibilities for digital engagement would be just some of the natural consequences of this union. However, one cannot ignore the harsh reality that accompanies any young player trying to establish themselves in the NBA. Even with talent, dedication, and a favorable context, the margin for error is extremely small. The Warriors' roster is carefully constructed to maintain competitiveness at the highest level, which means that every spot must be filled by someone who delivers immediate results or has a clear potential to evolve rapidly. If signed, Kai would have to prove in a short time that he is up to the challenge. His adaptation to the fast and physical style of the American League will be crucial. His reaction speed on defense, physical conditioning to endure the grueling schedule, and understanding of positioning within complex systems are all factors that could define his success or failure in the league. He will need to show that he can handle mobile power forwards, heavy centers, and defensive schemes that demand constant switching and effective communication. However, there is one factor that may work in his favor: his hunger to learn. Kai has already shown in his international journey that he is not afraid of challenges. He left home at a young age, faced different cultures, battled experienced opponents, and kept his dream alive even in the face of adversity. This resilience is one of the most valued qualities by teams like the Warriors, who prioritize players with a growth mindset. If the signing materializes, the rewards could be long-lasting. In just a few years, Kai could establish himself as one of the cornerstones of the Warriors' new generation of players, alongside other young talents the franchise has been working to develop. His presence in the paint could solve structural issues for the team, especially regarding rim protection and physical presence against opponents who play a more rugged style in the key. In a team that often relies on the precision of its shooters, having someone with his height and defensive instincts could bring even more balance to the lineups. Coach Steve Kerr's vision of the game, based on off-ball movement, quick passes, and intelligent defensive switches, would require Kai to make a continuous effort to adapt. He couldn't just be a big guy standing in the paint. He would need to be agile, have good game reading, and communicate constantly with his teammates. This ability to adapt to the team's dynamic rhythm would be vital for him to earn his place in the rotation. Off the court, Kai's image would also carry symbolic weight. In a league that celebrates diversity and inclusion, he would become the face of a new phase of Asian representation. Just as names like Yao Ming paved the way for future generations, Kai could take on that role for the Philippines and other Southeast Asian communities. His rise would not be solely athletic. It would also be cultural, emotional, and inspiring. Even with the risks involved, signing Kai Sotto could be a strategic move that yields significant rewards. The bet wouldn't just be on who he is today, but on what he could become in the years to come. And that, in itself, is enough to justify the Warriors' interest.